Hello and good morning. Welcome to Stamp and Chat. So back to my regular 9:30 time slot. Just going to check that I'm live in the right place. Refresh everything and hope that technology is playing game. Okay, seems like we're live in the right place, which is a good start. Hopefully somebody will be joining me this morning. Quite a fresh morning here. Weather has, we'll always talk about the weather, don't we? So British. Weather has changed. It's quite chilly here, but this morning it's not grey. It's a bit damp, but we've got a bit of sunshine poking through, which is lovely to see. Bit of sunshine lifts the spirits, don't you agree? Good morning if you were just joining. So if you saw my post earlier, I'm using 2 stamp sets this morning. Going to make a Christmas card, and it's a fun fold, and believe me, did I have fun trying to create this card. And also I'm doing a little packaging gift that would be great if you're doing craft fairs, or if you wanted them for teacher gifts or colleague gifts. So just something really simple, really inexpensive to create, but nice to gift. So I'm using the Peaceful Deer and the Joyful Flurry. And as you probably would have seen, if you're on my VIP Facebook group, I've been harping on about the Joyful Flurry stamp set. It's the one with the snowflakes. You'll see it in a minute, but it's on the last chance list and it's reduced to, I want to say £8.40, but it's absolutely beautiful. Even if you don't have time for Christmas crafting this year, get it now ahead of next year and start in January. That's the way to do it. Start your Christmas crafting in January. So, right, let us set you down and get on with the task in hand. I've got a super busy day today. I'm doing a village fair tomorrow, which is a charity event. And I've been trying to create loads of kind of small packagey things that will be really cheap to purchase, but also mainly I'm there to advertise what I do. So I've been super busy doing those things amongst holding grandchildren, going out shopping with grandchildren, and just having a fun time as well. So let's set you down on my desk. You can see the stamps that I'm talking about. So let's move everything out of the way. I'm surrounded. I'm normally a tidy crafter, but I'm surrounded by stuff at the moment, and I don't like working like that. So what about you? Are you a tidy crafter? Those of you that are watching. So just bear with the palm of the hand while I set you down. You can have a think about that. While we just get straight, move everything around. Try not to knock anything this week. A little zoom in. That was a massive zoom. Let's get some light going. Get the grid paper straight. That was a bit far that way. So as you can see, using the Joyful Flurry and the Peaceful Deer. Now the Peaceful Deer stamp set you will find in the annual catalogue. So we have a section, let me see if I can find it quickly. We have a section, oh, I can never find it. I want to say it's near the front of the book, but it's not. Let me just look at this in the index. Bear with me. Peaceful Deer, page 42. So it's under all occasion, and it actually starts on page 42. But it's this stamp set here. Good morning, Margaret. How are you doing? Facebook's thrown me out. Let me refresh my page. Thanks for that. When it throws me out, it shows me a different view, which means I can't read your comments properly, which is rather annoying. Let's clean my glasses as well, that might help. Can't see a thing today. So yeah, I'm using this. We have the punch that goes with it, which is just beautiful, but I just love this set. I used it a lot last year. We've also got some other things in here, and I think that one might be coordinating with something that's on the clearance rack. Let me just check. Standing on my charger, yes. So oops, I'm tripping over my own feet here. This stamp set here, the Trimming the Tree, I don't have this, but it went on to the clearance rack. We had this promotion running. I've pulled out my flyers because I always store my flyers for future reference, but we had this promotion running where you could buy dies that weren't in the annual catalogue. They were new release dies, but they coordinated with stamp sets in the annual catalogue. And this die set now has gone down to, the Playful Piggy's gone down to just £11.60. I've got an order going through today. It should have gone through yesterday, but I was hanging on for another order and it hasn't actually gone through yet. So if anybody would like anything, posting out these dies is really cheap to post. But where I am going is that there are dies that coordinate with this and they're down to just £12.80. We've got some other ones as well, the Yeti ones, not a fan of that. The Waterfall dies down to 14. Then we've got the Apple Blossom, which goes with the Apple Harvest stamps, and this one, which is beautiful. So remember, this is an annual catalogue stamp set, but these dies are just down to £12.80. So excellent value, and that is on our clearance rack. It's not on the last chance list, it's on our clearance rack. Yeah, Facebook seems to be playing games. I don't know if it's technology or I was trying to catch up with my team member Belle last night and it just kept throwing me out. So we just have to bear with it for now. Right, so I'm using both of these. I've got a fun fold for you today and some packaging. Just something simple. Let's get out our colour combo. So we're using soft suede, crumb cake and soft succulent. And I do appreciate that we are motoring through this month. And I know some of you definitely are not ready for Christmas and you still have some Christmas crafting to do. So I thought this week I would stick around with it. Maybe next week I may share some Christmas projects, but do something with some new upcoming goodies. What else are we using? I'm pulling back in the painted texture. There's a bit of tape stuck on the back of there, but I'm going to be creating a bit of a snow effect with that. So really good all-round embossing folder. Pulling out my Old Faithful stylish shapes. Honestly, these dies are just so usable. I absolutely adore them. They are such great value for money and I use them so often, always pulling them out. Right, let's have a look at what we've got. So I was kind of like browsing YouTube when I'm working. Let's tape this grid. I taped one side and not the other. When I'm working, I like to have something on in the background. So I either have like a podcast or a bit of music, but mostly I pop YouTube on and I watch. Well, I'm not really watching because I'm working, but I have like a bit of company in the background, or I catch up with other people's Facebook lives, which is really fun. But I came across a card which I thought was a really cute fun card, and it was designed by Rhonda Wade. A lot of you, if you're Stampin' Up demonstrator, you would have heard of Rhonda, but it was in a different size format, this fun fold. I've got lots of pieces here so you can see my colours that I'm using. My base is going to be Evening Evergreen teamed with Soft Succulent, two of my most favourite greens. And I'm chuckling at myself because I was never much a fan of green, but now I absolutely adore it. My house is full of green foliage, and dare I say, my wardrobe, my green section is definitely growing. My wardrobe is very neutral. It's very beige. I don't wear a lot of black, but very beige and cream. With some white thrown in there, and I love my stripes, but I've been finding loads of clothing in Soft Succulent and Evening Evergreen. So yes, I've been been growing my colours that I wear. So these two are base pieces, but we're going to do some fun folding on this. And then I've got some, this is all layers. Hopefully these are layers for my cards. So just some basic white pieces, and I'll go through measurements with those. Got a little bit of die cutting to do. And then I've pulled out some strips. I've got some skinny strips there cut for sentiment. But from the framed florets paper, I'm going to bring it in, put it on my chair. I have shown you this before. I don't know if I've got a full pack here. Let's pull out that half a bit. So this is still available at the present, I believe. The framed florets, stamps and dies, you have seen me use those. This is the flyer that goes with it. You've seen me use them so often. The dies are just gorgeous. Now, the framed floret stamps and the beautiful die set will carry over to the new mini catalogue. But the embellishments, the framed and festive, which is this one I used last week. Okay, that lovely Christmas greeting. And the papers will not carry over. They're only available until, I want to say, the 4th of January. Could be the day before. But do not miss out on them. They are beautiful. Obviously, you can get the stamps and the dies after, but there's such beautiful patterns in here and lovely colours. Balmy blue, I really do like balmy blue. And we've got evening evergreen, soft succulent. There's probably another piece somewhere. 1, 2, 3. That's all of them. 4, 5. No, there is another one, but I've obviously used most of that one. So yes, such a pretty set. So don't miss out on that either. And this I've cut from here because it is quite a festive design. Right, before I do, let's do the fun fold bit first. Now, as I said, I saw this designer fun fold on YouTube, but because it was created by someone in the States, it was a different size. Let's get these inks ready. So obviously our cardstocks are different sizes. So I had to fathom out in my head how I was going to recreate this fold to make it fit a little better, to make it slightly bigger. And my menopause brain at the minute, honestly, I did waste a few pieces of basic white cardstock creating this. And when I say waste, I've got a few templates. I can still use those pieces to stamp on. They haven't gone in the bin, but let's just say they've got like cuts and folds in where won't necessarily need them. But that's part of the designing process. So what I want to do with this piece, and this measures 3 7/8, let's just check, by 11 inches. Just going to line that on my grid. So it's 3 7/8 by 11 inches. And there's a reason why I've made this 3 7/8. And you'll see when the card comes together. But there are different ways that you could do this. Okay, so I'm going to pull in my Stampin' Up trimmer because I need to do some special cuts on here, and we have a cutting blade and a scoring blade on here, and it just means we can make our cuts in the middle of our cardstock without using a scalpel or anything like that, and a healing mat. But what I want to do first is score with this landscape. I'm going to score down, it is the middle, 5.5. Yeah, it's 11. So we're going to score down the middle. So I'm lining it up on my board here to 5.5. And I need to make sure my cutting blade is out of the way. Now I'm doubting myself. I'm just going to measure that because I didn't think it was in the middle. I think it must be there. Let's hope and pray it doesn't go wrong. And I'm just going to score down the middle there. I'm going to put my scory blade back at the top. So I've just got a central point there. Now I'm going to pop it in portrait. Okay, so with a shorter edge at the top. And I'm going to line it up at 1 inch. I'm just going to measure that as well, because I'm doing that bit from memory. I didn't write that down. So it's easier when you're doing a small measurement up to about 1.5 inches to measure on the right hand side of this trimmer. So I could put it here, but then you've got this, so 1 inch is here. You've got like this wobbly bit here. I never know how to describe this, but I'm rubbish at describing things. I'm not a good teacher at all, because I just can't get the words out to describe things, you know, easily. But of course, you know me, I'm full of waffle. I can talk. So we're going to have this at 1 inch. So I'm lining up my cardstock at 1 inch. I'm going to close it up, almost. Right, can you see what I'm doing? Let's just see if you can see the middle of the card yet. So I've got my cutting blade, which is trying to slide out. That's it. It just come out of the slot. So I'm lined up at 1. Let's just check I haven't moved it. Then I'm going to pull my cutting blade up to that central, where that horizontal score line is. And I'm going to pop it down. And I need to make a cut that's 2 3/4 long. So I need to go up 2 3/4 from this central line. And then I'm going to go down 2 3/4. So we're on 5.5. So I need to go 1, 2, down to 3 1/4. I need to hover over to see this. So I'm just running it along until there's a little marker here on the edge. Don't know if you can see that. I'm just lining that up with the 3 1/4. I'm going to go back down to the center, and then I'm going to go downwards 2 3/4. So 1, 2, so that takes us to 8 1/4 that way. I hope that makes sense. Now, if you didn't have a trimmer, paper trimmer like this, you could get your scalpel out and just measure with a ruler and pop a pencil mark 1 inch in and 2 3/4 either side of that central line. Now, I hope this goes right. I don't have very much faith in myself today. I'm going to leave that out because I might use that again in a minute. Just because the first couple of times I created this, it didn't go right. So what I'm going to do now is just fold. I'm super sniffy as well. So I hope I'm not sniffing. I might have to go off and blow my nose in a moment. It's just that time of year, and do you know what? I sniff all the time. Doesn't matter what season we are in. I'm just a sniffy person. Right, what we're going to do now, and this was the bit I found really hard to follow on the video I watched. I just couldn't get my head around how it was happening. But basically, we're going to have it folded in as if you were folding your card in half. But this bit, we're going to pull, and we want it to meet over here. And there is a bit of a technique because you don't want to be folding. I don't want to put a crease line here if I can help it, okay? So it's what you would want to do is just fold it in half right the way over and crease it. But I find if we just pull this up until it meets, so I'm just meeting that point with that point there. And I'm not going to crease here. I'm just holding it down, but I want to crease that bottom bit underneath. Okay, so I've not creased this bit. I've creased that bottom bit down there. And then we end up with this. Now, there is a little slight crease in there, but I don't want to put a definite crease on there. Then I'm going to get my cutter back out and just pop a score line in. Oh, it's having a little shake under there. Just take that cutting blade out of the way because we do not want to cut anything at this point. And all I want to do is pop a score line from here down to this horizontal part that we cut. So I'm going to line it in as best as I can. I'm just looking to see where that is. I'm going to pop my score blade down, line it up with this cut line here, and then just run it up and down a couple of times and hope and pray that this is the way that I did it when I created it. It just gives us a piece. This piece has to fold backwards on itself, and it's just whether it all lines up. So you can see I want this front panel to stay flat if I can, and I want this to line up as best as it will. So I'm actually pulling. Can you see where this fold is here? It makes it a little bit short and crooked, but if I line up there with the edge of the card, hold it tight, and then pop my bone folder over, just moved a little bit, and then crease it down, it will just manipulate it. It's just, and the reason being, it's just where that little cut line maybe is too far over, and I've done my score line in. Now you could have not put that score line in, and you could have just folded it back manually, but it would leave quite a crease. And then we end up with this panel here, which when folded flat, let's give you another crease, measures 5.5 by 3 7/8. So this is our little fun folder. I have no idea what it's called. I've never made one where the front piece reaches right the way over to this side before. I've done them when they're shorter, but I just thought it was something a little different. And then basically that's going to sit onto this card base like this, and that is the reason that I wanted to make this 3 7/8, so that my base piece of Evening Evergreen is 4 1/8, which is half of a width of A4 cardstock. So it means that when I'm cutting a sheet of card, I can just cut it down the middle at 4 1/8. If I'd have made this 4 1/8, I would only have got 2 of these pieces from one A4, whereas now I can get 4 pieces from an A4. Hope that makes sense. So that layers on there. Just want to line that up a little better, just so it's nicely lined up. It's a little bit out of line, but I'm not going to faff too much. There's a few of you on this morning. Oh, good morning, Helen. How are you doing? Hope you're keeping okay. I have posted some happy mail to you. I'm not sure if it's arrived. I'm just slightly concerned with Royal Mail at the moment, whether I'm posting birthday cards, whether they are actually getting there, because there's a lot of strikes happening and a lot of delays are happening. So I just do not know whether things are arriving. So this, I'm just going to remind you, this Evening Evergreen layer, good morning Ellie, how are you doing? Measures 5 3/4 by 4 1/8, which is like my standard base card size. So let's just scroll, get my view back. So as I said, that's going to sit on top of there. So let's build up this card. Let's put that to one side, do a bit of stamping. So I love our craft cardstock. You see me use it a lot. It comes in 6 by 6, but it's so useful. So I'm going to open up my soft suede, and I've pulled out, we've got 3 lovely, well, 4 deer in here. So we have the deer builder punch that punches out kind of this prancing deer. Morning, Katie. You're supposed to be revising for an exam. Tut tut. Well, maybe just a 5-minute bit of creative inspiration, and then that might get you back into a flow for your for your studying. So I hope you're keeping well. I have posted something to you as well, so I'm hoping that that gets to you, Katie. Keep in touch with me. I've got something else to post out as well. So, oh, I'm just reading now, it's scrolling. Your cracker kit arrived yesterday. Excellent. So that didn't take too long. So yeah, it's just worrying. Helen, nothing's landed yet. Well, there's Happy Mail on the way, my lovely. So I'm hoping that it arrives very soon. So yes, yeah, so you've got different deer on here. These images are shown at a smaller view, but they're just lovely. And obviously, this one and this one you can use with the punch. This one that I'm using this morning, I'm using the other one as well, I think, but this actual one I need to fussy cut. So let's pull out our mat. Just going to ink that in soft suede. So I was slightly concerned about which stamp sets I was going to use this morning because of, do you know what? Rarely do we get an ambulance go past here, but it seems like it's always on a Tuesday when I'm live. Because we're sort of not on a main road through anywhere. There are hospitals in Cheltenham. I don't know, but I wouldn't have thought they would come this way. Anyway, I've just stamped this little deer. It's so sweet. But I also want some antlers for it. So I'm just going to punch out a pair of antlers. A nice confetti making punch, that one. Put those to one side. And then we'll just cut around this really quickly, as best as the eyes will see. So what have you all been up to? Hope you've been doing something nice. We had a lovely weekend. I worked on Saturday morning, and then we went into the docks at Gloucester on Saturday afternoon. There was a market happening at the Priory, which is it's a building that's been renovated. It's beautiful, and they've been holding events there. It's right by the historic docks at Gloucester, and they had the Victorian market on as well. So I went in there and got a couple of bits of shopping for Christmas gifts. I'm just trimming around this. Don't want to chop any legs off or anything, being very careful, leaving a little gap just to make it easier to trim. Yeah, bought a few gifts. There was some lovely stores. I shared a couple on my Instagram stories, just because, you know, if you're looking for, you know, if you're local, you can head over. I put links to people's shops. So yeah, I met some lovely people, lovely local sellers as well, which is always nice. To support the small, let's just give this a little curl. That was Saturday. What did we do on Sunday? Oh, on Sunday morning, I worked again. Surprise, surprise. I'm a bit of a workaholic, but I try and squeeze in work around family. So I will catch up when I need to on evenings and weekends if I can. Jason had gone out on his enduro bike. So I was home alone for the morning. So I decided to come over here and do a bit of work. And then we went over we did a food shop, went to see Jack and Cole's and the Three Little Ones, took some lovely brownies from Hetty's Kitchen, which is another local small business, and had coffee. And then we came home and Sophie came over to do some work. So, and then that was the weekend kind of gone. It just comes and goes, doesn't it? Right, I've cut 2 squares of basic white cardstock, and I wanted to use my stylish shapes dies just to cut those out. So let's pull in my cutting plate. I'll do one at a time. I don't need anything else die cut. I think I might just tape that down though so it doesn't move. Good morning, Lucy Ann. I am very good, thank you. And you? Helen, you've just moved house, haven't you? So you're up to your eyes in DIY, but you did get to the Christmas light switch on Saturday evening. How lovely. Yeah. Do you know what? I think it's so important to do these things during the festive season. You know, take the time, go and do a market, have a mulled wine, you know, do things that make you happy. It's just been super chilly at the minute, hasn't it, here? It's going to get colder as well. Let's just do another one of those. It's definitely getting colder, I think, from tomorrow. We're going to go into the minus figures during night time. So I'm going to go over later, probably light the fire after lunch. I'm home all day today, which doesn't happen very often, but I will be glued to my studio, which is a pleasant thing to happen. And I've got to get all this stuff ready for this event that I'm doing tomorrow. Right, the other thing I need to do is emboss this layer. So I've just cut one plain one, and then I'm going to emboss one with the painted texture. And we just use the grey plate on there for that. Margaret, you're at 3.5 degrees. Oh, chilly. I don't know what it is outside. It's been milder the last couple of days, first thing. But I think tomorrow is going to be a different story. I mean, it's pretty warm here in the studio, but Alfie keeps pushing the door open at the bottom of the stairs, and I can feel it on my feet coming up, which isn't very good because it's a bit of a waste of energy. Okay, right, I'm going to chop this one in half. Just going to put that in my trimmer. Is it in half or is it less? It's in half. So I've just chopped that into two. I'm going to put one to one side. I'm going to do a bit of stamping on here. Treated myself to a fresh sheet of grid paper. Honestly, it's the simple things that make us happy, isn't it? Treating myself to a fresh sheet of grid paper. And I'm pulling in, you know, I love the dots and splats and things. And I am going to be using this one after. I adore the dots in that one, the snow. But this one's quite pretty. It's got like actual snowflakes on it. So I'm going to use that one. And I'm going to use the crumb cake ink. And I've inked this, re-inked it as well. So I'm hoping it's not too dark. Let me test it on a scrap. I think it's going to be quite dark, but do you know what? We're just going to go with it. I'm just going to add in. Can you actually see what I'm doing? Helen, it's 3 degrees where you are. Yeah, I don't know what it is outside. Let's just, oops, that's stuck. Stamp some snow. How pretty is that? I mean, I'm not cold in here. What am I at? I must be at about 20. Oh, it's only 18, but it's not cold. And I find the cold. I'm terrible with the cold. And then what I'm going to do is layer these two together. So let's move that plate out of the way. Get the Tombow rolling. And just, oh, it's not wanting to come out today. It's because it's cold. It's gone all shy. So yesterday I took Teddy Bear, Teddy, my third grandchild. Oops. He's 14 months, so I had him for the morning and we went to the shopping centre at Cribbs Causeway. Those of you that are local will know that. It was super busy, honestly, super busy. I dropped a couple of orders off on my way because they were en route, but we got there at about 10. I left here at 8:15, mind, but by the time I picked him up and got on my way, it was so busy there, honestly. So busy. But he was as good as gold. We stopped in Costa. We had to queue for about 10 minutes to get in. It might have been even 15 to get our food and sit down. But we had coffee. Well, he didn't have coffee, obviously, but we shared some toast, and he was just so well behaved. He's my little Mr. Handsome, and he just bats his eyelids at everybody. He's so cute, so happy, and so smiley. So yeah, he was good as gold. And we didn't get back until about 1:30. I dropped him off then and came home. So, right, these layers here are for my fun fold. Sorry, just checking comments. You shouldn't watch my lives, Helen, because it makes you want the things that you haven't got. Yeah. Well, the good thing about the deer is I've used this all year round. And the punch as well, but because we've got Let's Celebrate in here, it's got a From All of Us. I know the other things are quite Christmassy, but I've used these deer, definitely not for Christmas, okay? And even the trees I've used for non-Christmas cards. So what am I doing? I keep distracting myself. Are these pieces the same? No, let's give you some measurements. I'm just going to do one final bit of stamping and then we can put it together. So I've rather wonkily mounted the word Merry Christmas on here. And I've got myself some strips of basic white. And I think we'll go with, move those out of the way, we'll go with soft suede. And we'll just stamp that on as straight as we can. I think that's a bit crooked. We'll have another go. We're going to chop it in two anyway, so I don't think it will show so much. Let's start with that bit straight. I think that was just as crooked, but even worse. Let's go with the first one. And all I'm going to do is just chop it into two pieces. Like that. Excuse me, let's have a drink. I've got the frog back. It's always when I go live. Right, so let's start layering pieces. Now, I had a bit of a dilemma because of the way the panels work here on how to measure my pieces of basic white to layer up. But one of these is longer than the other, so I think that is my front piece that's going to go on here, and I need to just run that through, or do I? Did on my original. Yeah, I'm going to run it through the embossing folder. And then I was going to do some extra stamping that I didn't do on my original, so I'm just going to run that one through really quickly. Hello, if you were joining. How are you? So that layer is going to go on here. Now this bottom panel here, I've cut some pieces, but it does depend on your score line, so I may need to trim just a smidge off. But this panel measures 1 inch, so I've cut my strip of paper an 1/8 shorter, so they are 7/8 wide, and it is quite a tight squeeze, but that panel there with the folding is 5.5, but once you fold it you lose some, so I would cut it at 5.5 and just snip off a bit just so it fits nicely inside there. So let's just glue that one on, and then we can put our other panels on after. But I just love a fun fold. I've got a couple of fun folds to show you after, as long as uh-oh, that went on the floor. As long as I remember. And then we're just going to pop that one down on that left hand side. And then because we've got Tombow, we can wiggle it around a minute until it sticks. Then the other two pieces are the same 7/8 by, what have I cut them at? 2 5/8. But you may need to just trim a slither off to make them fit, because once you put your fold in there, it will just be a bit tight. But I'm just going to put these on for now. I'm working right on the bottom of my grid paper, and I have no idea if you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, I pulled out a couple of fun folds. I was just checking through, ready for this order to go through. I was just checking through the clearance rack and stuff this morning to see what was left and the last chance list. And a couple of things just popped up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I hadn't noticed how reasonably priced that was. So I just dug out a couple of cards because it was the Merriest Moments, one that I've used so much, and I used it before the festive season came, and used it and created so many, I just need to get rid of that glue, so many general birthday cards using it. So I was going to show you that after. So we've just got that bottom panel with our framed florets paper on there. Ellie, you've got a stash of crackers to finish for events this week, but you're going for a run after my live. Well done you. I'm sure your weather is pretty much the same as what we've got here, so it will be lovely. I can see the hills over there, which is a good sign, through the trees. Right, what I'm going to do now is layer up, but I can put this one on the front ready. And it was hard to decide how close to make this white panel to my base, but I've left quite a generous gap. So this is 2.5 by 2 3/4. I'm going to stick that one straight on. Like that. And then, uh-oh, a bit crooked. Good old Tombow gives you that wiggle room. It's because it just doesn't quite line up at the top there. But that layer, that looks okay to me. Now this panel here is going to fit inside here, and this measures 2 5/8 by 5 1/4. But I am going to stamp a couple of trees on here, just because I think it will break it up a little bit. So I think I'm just going to go with this one. So in the Peaceful Deer, you have a whole selection of lovely like Christmas fir trees. I'm going to do it in Soft Succulent. And I'm just going to pop them down over on the right hand side and try and take off that bottom bit. I caught a bit of it, but where the base is there, I might just trim that on my trimmer. A smidge. Just, I know there is that bit there, but just so I've got like the base of the tree, not a ground line. And then I'm going to just pop in some of these snowflakes in crumb cake. Just like that. Just to make a little scene. So I just felt my card looked a bit blank. And then we're going to pop that over on this right hand side. So Tombow on the back. And as you can see, we've got quite a generous border around here. And in a minute I'll explain to you about what annoyed me slightly, and I'm not sure how to rectify it, but you probably will think I'm just being super fussy. And then I've got a panel here which measures 2.5 by 2 5/8, And this will just be maybe to write your message on because it's hidden. So we're just going to pop that in. So all of the top of these panels lines up, but as you can see, this front one is slightly longer, and it just bothered me that there was this gap here, but I didn't really know how to do it without it looking odd when it's open. So maybe I'm just being super fussy. You can be honest and tell me if I'm being super fussy. Just checking comments. I'm gonna have a quick nose blow because I'm super sniffy. You know how fussy I am, I just can't help it. I like things to be just right. Right, and now we're gonna put this on our base here. But when we're putting glue on, we are only gluing this piece and not that piece here. Otherwise, it's not going to be much of a fun fold because it won't open out. So we're just putting Tombow on those panels. I'm going to pinch it together and then just lay it down centrally like that. Just hold it down for a minute. Could I make the white card bigger? Margaret is saying. I could make the white card bigger. Where's my... I could extend it here to the bottom, which would make it the same height as this one. So this one is 2 3/4 and this one is 2 5/8. So if I made this one 2 3/4, this white panel would touch right at the bottom. So maybe I will try that and try it with all of them, but I don't know what it was that just made me feel that it needed to be even all the way around. But do you see where I'm coming from? Like, I've got quite a big gap there. Anyway, that's just me being fussy, laughing at myself. Right, I'm going to pop this layer on dimensionals. So we'll just pop a couple behind here. Oh, pulled the whole thing off. I'm going to lay that over this panel here. And it is wider than my cardstock, but I don't care about that. It's just hanging over the edges, like either side here. And then our deer will have yet more dimensionals. This would be a nice card to create a beautiful box for because it's quite springy. And then we'll just pop our deer over this side. Add in the antlers. Can't pick these up today. So I think we just pop a little bit of Tombow on the back like that. And I'm always faffing about getting them to look right. Like, how far should they be apart? So bear with my fingers being in the way. Like, should they be apart a bit more? Should they be together? Should they be higher? Should they be lower? Oh, the dilemmas of being a fussy person. And then to finish, I'm just going to cut some strips from the edge. Put one on there, and then put one on the left side of here, because it's going to overlap our reindeer. So we'll put a bit of Tombow there because the reindeer is on a dimensional. Otherwise it's going to be even higher. And we'll just pop the Mary. Best peel the back off of there. Oh, I need to straighten my back. It's been aching a lot. It always aches, my back. and then pop the Christmas there. Let's just make sure they're straight there. Like that. And then I'm going to call it done. So you can write your greeting in here. You could also put a panel on the back if you wanted to, but I think there's lots of options with this, because obviously you could, I was trying to think how else you could put this, do this. You could put it inside a folded card even, this bit. You could maybe do it the opposite way. Would that work? So you had it inside a folded card. Just imagine there was a front on this card base and had it so it pulled open that way. I just saw there was lots of different options of what you could do. You know, you could, there's nothing stopping you having it folding a different way. Obviously, stick your pieces on the right way up. But so yeah, I was a bit dubious when I was designing for this about what I could use that maybe wasn't going to have sold out off of the last chance list. Being that the Peaceful Deer is in the annual catalogue, that was where my theory was going with that. Right, I've pulled out a punch and I've realised, oh no, it's for the next project. I'm like, have I missed something? Hello, Belle, my lovely, how you doing? Let's just scroll these comments. Me, fussy never. Oh, Katie, you know what I'm like. I'm such a fuss pot. Could add a matte layer behind it, Ellie. Yeah, good idea. Would make the embossed white slightly shorter. Yeah, I'm going to show you on another card what I did, and then I wasn't sure if that looked right. Or make the first panel shorter. Hello, Kim. Good evening. How are you doing? Never late to the party, my lovely. Belly, you've been on a phone... Belly? Did I call you Belly? Belle, you've been on a phone call holding for 42 minutes. Oh, how horrific. Thank you, Katie. Let me grab the couple that I've made, because I've been making some of these for the craft fair. But these are made... Let's move your inks. I've got something else, another project for you as well. But these are made in the smaller version, so you can see the difference in size. So they're slightly shorter. But kind of the same, but different. I've used some retired pattern papers that are in, it's not a retired colour, it's soft succulent, but I've got tons of these papers, and these are on the clearance rack as well. Are they still available? That's another question, but they were down to something like £4.50, you know, for the 6x6 packs. Let me grab you one. So this is like the in colour one. These, they were reduced. I don't know if these in colours were on there, but I know some of the other colour families were. So remember, I'm doing that order if you want to place anything. I'm going to place anything in my basket, I should say, but you of course can do your own online order. Comments. Thank you, Helen. So this was another one that I did, and I pulled out my, what are they called? Tree lot dies. So these were available as a celebration earlier in the year when we had another celebration, and I didn't really use them, to be honest. I don't have the stamp set that goes with them. The stamp set is called, I'm going to find it, Trees for Sale, and let's find the page. It's not on, it's not reduced. Where is it? Wrong book. Let me just look. So it's not been reduced, but it is going. But the reason I'm saying this is if anybody just loves this set. Where are you? Page 39. Then I have a set of dies I'm willing to sell. I mean, it is so cute. How sweet is it? So it's not reduced, but it is retiring. But I have a brand new set of these dies that I need to sell. So if anybody's interested, let me know. I've only got one, but then you could order this lovely stamp set to go with it. But I used it just to create this tree here. This was from another old set, and because I'm selling these cards at the craft event, I wasn't too bothered to be using some old dies. This was from the cloche die set that we had last year, I think. So yeah, I've just added in, so you can see how you can kind of make them different. But can you see here, so by making that panel shorter, you end up then with a bigger gap there. So I'm not sure which looks best if we close the map. So here we've got a smaller gap but a bigger gap there. And then here we've got a bigger gap here, but it is in line with the rest of the card. Does that make sense? And of course you end up with that bigger gap there. I don't think it really matters on the grand scheme of things. I don't know. So you can see that one is longer, that left panel. So yeah, I've been in full creative mode, been having a whale of a time here in the studio, creating stuff for the fair. But yeah, I was super pleased with this fold. It's just nice to have. You like it in line, Margaret? Yeah, kind of like my OCD tells me that it should be in line, and then maybe have to ignore the fact that we have a slightly bigger panel there and a slightly bigger space, I mean, there. Right, enough waffle about cards. That's my original, by the way. I didn't stamp the trees, but I think it looks better with the trees just to break it up because there's too much white space there. So I will try and add some into that one, I think. Right, what is next? Oh, a little package for you. So I have got, this is something that I created for, basically for the craft fair. Can you hear my jingle bell? It's just so easy, so inexpensive. Simple to put together. And you could put an expensive treat in there or just chocolates. I'm just putting chocolates in mine. So I'm starting with a piece of basic white and it measures 5 3/4 by 6. Now I've seen different sizes of this. Belle, you're saying you only think the gap matters to me. I know, what am I like? I've seen different you could do different sizes of this, but my theory, my brain always works on how many can we get from a sheet of A4. By doing it at 6 inches by 5 3/4, you will get 2 of these from one sheet of A4. Where I saw it, and I can't remember exactly where it was now, but I think it used a 6 by 6 piece of DSP, which is pretty cool. If you've got those paper packs like the one I just showed you, you could do that. But it would also mean that, what am I thinking? What am I thinking? It makes no difference if you've got 12 by 12, it makes no difference. But if you're using A4 paper to create this, then it needs to be 6 inches by 5 3/4. If you're using DSP, you can make it 6 by 6 and then you'll still get 4 from your sheet. Right, let's pull in some stamps. So on this one, I'm using both the sets. I'm using the Joyful Flurry. Remember, this is £8.40. £8.40. I just cannot get over that. It's too cheap. Using the large and the small snowflakes from there, because they are delicious. Oh, actually, I'm looking at my project and I've used a different one, but let's use that different one. Whoop. I've used this one a lot. Let's put that one back in. I need to give that a really good clean as well. Where I've been heat embossing and using Versamark on it, it needs to go in my proper Stampin' Up scrub to give it a good clean. I'm going to be using, am I going to use that one? Don't need to. I think I'm just going to use these two. Right, I need a scrap because I'm going to be going off the edge of here. And all I'm going to do is create myself a background like you've been seeing me doing. And I'm just going to go randomly across my sheet. Have another one there. And then we'll turn it and just go like in the gaps like that. So that was with the soft succulent, and then with the snow we'll use the crumb cake and we'll just fill in some gaps. Oh, I forgot that I re-inked this, but it'll be fine. It's so pretty, this one. And this is so quick, honestly. Really simple stamping. How pretty is that? Belle, you got the Joyful Flurry. I know, it is just delicious. We all love a snowflake, don't we? It's the only snowflake one I've got at the moment that is actual current. So what I'm going to do on here is a bit of scoring, and I could use my scory tool, my score trimmer with the score blade, but I like this good old-fashioned Simply Scored tool. So what I'm going to do is score it. Just bear with me, I need to make sure I've got my right measurements. So it measures 6 inches by 5 3/4 on the landscape side, which is the longer edge. We are going to score it. So on the 6-inch edge, we're going to score. Can you see what I'm doing? I think you can. At 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. Then we're going to turn it and score it portrait at 1 1/4. Okay. Now what we need to do, and this is where it just gets a little bit tricky, is we're going to turn it over so that we've got the smaller scored panel on the right hand side, and we've got a score line here. It's hard to show you because I've stamped all over it. So I've got a score line here at 2 3/4. We need to measure the middle in between those two. Just looking at my template. So it's easier to show you that side, but I don't want to confuse you, so I'm just going to put it in. So put it in so you've got the 2 large panels on the left, the skinny panel on the right, and so this first panel is at 2 3/4. We're going to score halfway, but only down to that 1 1/4 inch score line, if that makes sense. So we're going to score it at 1 3, which is halfway down. And then what I'm going to do is you can either put a pencil mark in at 1 3, but I'm going to pop that line. I'm going to turn it that way so that I can see. And I'm going to line up. Do you know what? I'm just making it confusing, and I hate things that are confusing. We literally want a score line in the middle of this panel here. When I fold it, you'll see. So let's put a mark at 1 3. And I'm literally just going to line it up to the top and draw a score line in there. So can you see that? We've got, let's put that 2 3/4 one back in. So we've got our skinny panel on the left, and then we've got 4 squares that are all even. Hopefully you can see that. What you could do is turn it, flip it that way, and then score it down, but you cannot judge where that line is. So basically you would have a score line along the bottom at 1 3/8, 2 3/4, 4 1/8, and 5 1/2. But only these two go down to that 1 1/4 line. Gosh, that was confusing, wasn't it? And then what we're going to do is cut out, if I can actually see with the reflection, I'm going to cut out that bottom end tab. I'm going to cut up all of these score lines to that 1 1/4 line that we put in. And we're going to take out a couple of little wedges just so that it comes together nicely. So we'll just take a couple out like that. Actually, let's just wedge that one a bit as well. I mean, you don't have to wedge, but it might just help. So we've ended up with 2 large panels, a skinny panel there, and then our 4 tabs at the bottom. I'm going to take our bone folder and just give that a crease. I don't know if this is called a bag in a box. I want to make sure that that lines up. And then that little one will just fold over that way, like that. Okay, so this is what we are looking at. And then what should happen is if you fold that tab over and bring this one over, we should be able to just glue it straight like that, and it should line up nicely. So we'll just pop Tombow on that end tab. Fold it over, make sure it lines up nicely, and give it a squeeze. Hello, if you are just joining. Let's have a quick look at comments. Margaret, you ordered it and waiting for it to arrive. Yeah, I'm still waiting for an order from, I don't know when the clearance rack and the last chance list went live, which was last Wednesday, I want to say. So I'm waiting on an order. So I'm just going to gently open that up, and that's the back of my box there. Actually, we'll make that the front, but just because of where our join is, it won't matter that that's the front. And then what we're going to do is just fold in these bottom tabs like that. I'm going to put a bit of glue on that one, fold it in. I know it's not sticking, but it will in a minute. Bit of glue on that one, fold that one in, and then this last one, Tombow on there, and fold that one in, and then just push them all together. You could get your bone folder down in just to help, so you've got something to push against. Make sure it stays square at the bottom. Get it down in and give it a little twizzle in there, but make sure it kind of stays square. It doesn't look very square, but that's okay. So we end up with this little cute pouch that's really super strong. You've got a delay of 2 days, yeah. I mean, everything is busy at the moment, isn't it? Any kind of logistics of moving products around the world, but with it being Christmas and extra deliveries, then of course it's you know, gonna slow down. Things gonna slow down a bit. So I'm gonna put that to one side, and I need to just cut myself, stamp myself. I wonder if I'll get a reindeer out of that bit. I'm thinking not. Let's grab another piece. Oh dear, don't get it. It's very curly, this cardstock. And this time I'm going to stamp the prancing deer. I'll do it on the mat because it's photopolymer. Oh, I think I just put my finger in the soft suede in the crumb cake. And we're just going to stamp that one down. How beautiful is that? And I'll tell you what I'm going to do on this one. I didn't do it on my previous, but it does finish it off. I always thought this was a pile of pebbles. There, that's something to give you a laugh for the day. But it's like the markings on the deer. So let's just ink that up. I'm going to put one on the bum area. It just does lift it. I can't see what I'm doing, by the way. One there. It just makes it look a bit more lifelike. And then we'll punch that out. Line that in with our punch. I've not had breakfast. I can feel my belly's gonna rumble in a minute. Can I have a tummy rumble? I didn't get a chance to breakfast. I was up at usual time, but I was over here faffing and was late having my first coffee of the morning. And then I wasn't really ready for breakfast before I went live, so I'm gonna be well ready for it after. Just curl up like that. I'm not gonna put antlers on this one. Then I want to cut another circle from my dies, and I think I'm using that size. No, I think I'm going smaller. I'm going to use that size. A bit of white. And I'll just cut one of those. I'm going to emboss it as well like I did the other. I'll just cut that quickly. Yeah, my tummy's definitely oh, that moved. Had a little slip. Let's cut another. I was like speedily pushing it through then, not concentrating. Let's tape it down. Yeah, my tummy's definitely doing a rumble. So we've got that nice, it's got some markings on there. That's just from my plate, but it will just rub off. It's like adhesive that gets stuck on the plate from where we keep using the masking tape on it all of the time. And then I'm just going to emboss that one. Very quickly. Such a quick and simple process that just really makes a difference. So I've just embossed that one there. And all I'm going to do is pull out my, Label Me Lovely punch. Don't you just love our punches? They are amazing. I think I put a marker on my page for this one. Yeah, Label Me Lovely. I haven't labelled this one up with its number, but really, really good punch. So quick and easy. When you're creating things like this and you are doing batches, punches are just so much quicker. I'm going to stamp myself a greeting again. And do exactly the same, the Merry Christmas, just because I love it. Do it in the soft suede. Try and get it a bit straighter this time. So I stamped with some new ladies last week at my coffee and card event, and they thought that one of the stamps had red ink on it because it was red, but that's just what happens to our photopolymer. They kind of absorb, they're porous, and they absorb the colour, the pigment from the ink, and then they stain. But they still work perfectly fine. Right, we've got our Merry Christmas. So what we're going to do is layer Where's my dimensionals? I've got about 3 sheets on the go at the moment. I'm going to pop this one on dimensionals. He's snoring away under there, honestly. Pop that one down first. How lovely does that fit on there as well? Then yet more dimensionals, because, you know, we're not posting this, we're giving it. So we can make it as 3D as we wish. And we'll just have it hanging off this tag. Like that. And then we'll pop on our Mary. And our Christmas. We're going to have to put a bit of glue on there. Just move that one out of the way for a moment. Line that up straight so we know where we're at. Oh goodness, my tummy. It does worry me because the microphone on this phone, oh, I've got glue on me, is super sensitive. I'm like, can you all hear my tummy rumbling? Let's just have the label flat and straight to start with. I might have to do that a little bit higher. Might put that there. And that one just below. Like that. So we've just got glue on this side so that it's level in line with the height of that deer. And then going to pop more dimensionals just along the centre part of here. I'm going to pop it down on our little bag. And this is such a good size. Let's try and get it on straight. Such a good size in there. You could get a nice nail varnish, a lip balm, all sorts of things. A small hand cream. Sophie bought me some really nice, like, small hand creams for my birthday. You could get Ferrero Rocher in there, lint balls. And then what I'm going to do is use a little peg. These are pretty naff, these pegs. They're from one of the cheaper, like the pound shop places I saw them. Stampin' Up used to sell pegs, but they were much nicer than these. And then I've also got this pot of jingle bells. So I thought we'd have ourselves a little bell on here. I found this lurking amongst all of my threads and twines, which we sold this at one point. But it's very, very fine. So I'm just going to cut a piece of that. How did I do this? Threading it through the top of my bell, and then I'm going to thread it through the hole in the peg and just tie a knot if I can. It's so fine. It's gone over there. I didn't want it to go. Get back. That's it. Pull it tight. Got a job to even see it, let alone tie a knot with it. That's it. So we've just got our little bell attached to there. Let's trim off those edges. Get off that adhesive that's sticking to me. And then I'm going to pop that on there like that. And then just to finish, we'll take some twine. So this comes in the pack with the gold. This one here, which I've just unravelled. wasn't handy. We'll just tie a little bow. You've got to pull it really tight, this twine. It kind of comes undone, so you need to pull it really tight. Pinch it in the middle a bit to make the tails, the loops shorter. I'm going to take a glue dot, roll it up. I feel like I've been on here for hours, or is that just because I'm hungry? And then we're going to pop it there on our peg, like that. And then pop that down, like so. Make some room. Everything goes back in its little place. And then we've got this cute little box that jingles. Here's the one I did earlier. So you can decide, do you like the markings on the deer? Changing over iPads. Have you run out of battery? Is that what you mean? Just changing iPads. So yeah, I think I've got some chocolate in here. Oh, this is my favourite treat at the minute. A Happy Hippo, but the hazelnut one. They do like a chocolate one. Oh my goodness. Yeah. The best treat I could get would be a Happy Little Hippo. So they're such sweet little gifts. And that combined with a nice card that coordinates. I mean, who could not want that? So I think these make great kind of, just like I said earlier, teacher gifts or colleague gifts. You could find a whole host of different things that would work with this. But I just love how cute it is, how simple it is, how inexpensive it is to make. But what a nice little treat to give to somebody. So, yep, that's my little share for today. What else have we got that I wanted to show? I'm just going to do up these inks before we get it everywhere, because you know that happens often. Got a couple of things to show you. So I will be back very soon sharing new products, new projects, but I wanted to just share a couple of things that are on the last chance list, because you do not want to miss them. So the Merriest Moments, promised you a couple of sample shares. This is down to just £14.70, and I honestly used this with these flowers and this foliage for general birthday cards in, like, I'm sure I used Blushing Bride or Petal Pink, and made some really pretty cards just with the foliage. Obviously not the holly berries or the greetings, but just the foliage and even the splats as well. But these are some cards that I did last year, just to show you how lovely they are. It's really, really lovely. Great set. Couple of fun folds. The poinsettia is just lovely, and the foliage. Love a fun fold, and just a simple fold like that. So those were obviously some that I did for a class last Christmas. So that's the Merriest Moments. Oh my gosh, what a mess around here. £14.70. And then the Handmade Wishes, it's gone down to £8.40 as well. This one is so cute, and I used this. I couldn't grab my samples. I'm sure I had a belly band or something. But I created some non-festive projects. I can't see them now, but I did some lovely things with that. And of course we've got where's the punch? The handmade tag punch, this one, that coordinates. So this is carrying over. This will still be available, and I've made tags, actual tags using the edge of here. But for £8.40, you can use these parts, this frame you can use with love, you You can use the handmade, for you, love baked, all of those elements. This background one that are non-Christmassy. So another really good one on the last chance list. So I think that's it for now. I think I need to go and eat before I fizzle away. But thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you have enjoyed my projects this morning. And of course, remember that anything is versatile. Something that isn't just, you know, for Christmas. My phone is like, my phone stand is, I want to say the word drooping, but I'd like to find a better word. It's moving. My phone is straight in my holder, but it seems to be sagging a little. So yeah, anyway, enough waffle. I need to eat. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be sharing some lives on my Instagram tomorrow, or some, not lives, I'll be doing it on my stories of my display at the craft event. Sophie is coming as well, so she will be selling her embroidery products, and baby Luca will be with us. So it will be a fun morning, so I'll try and get some photos of my display. Another thing that I'm doing, I'm saying I'm going and I'm not going. I've got to create some more of these. How lush is this? This is something that I did at a retreat a few years ago. It holds a Terry's chocolate orange. So I will share more tomorrow about my event anyway. But I will love you and leave you. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're catching me on YouTube, thank you for stopping. If you've got any questions, please just do get in touch, but let me know that you've stopped by, because it's always good to know who has been here. So please take care, and I'll see you all very soon. So bye for now.